I'm Natasha, and if you're watching this, I'm going to talk about the planet Saturn. So, to start off with, what is Saturn? So, I like to explain if Saturn was an actual human figure or archetype, Saturn would be a very restrictive, kind of stoic, reserved kind of person. This is the kind of person, if Saturn was a human being, this person would have like 2, 3 outfits in their closet, and they would just put that on rotation. They'd only own 1 or 2 pairs of shoes. They would be so focused on working on their craft or whatever they're passionate about every single day, almost all day long, to do the hard work, figure out the setbacks, the hardships, the weird things that they didn't know about before every single day in order to master whatever craft or thing that they are trying to develop, grow, build, whatever it is, into something a lot bigger. And so Saturn energy, if it was like a person, understands this hard dedication that is so freaking slow. It is not short-term fast. It is thinking about longevity, what is going to last the test of time, what is going to be durable and reliable, what is going to build a very strong foundation, this strong basis in order to then build up. But if your foundation is really weak or it was rushed, you didn't think about all the little things and details and all these different outliers that you might not encounter on a regular day basis. And sometimes that just requires experience and life experience, and things in the world also change, and then you have to maneuver around things like that. So Saturn understands this long, very hard, restrictive energy, but it is something that it is willing to work on. It is something that it is passionate about in order to do it. Otherwise, if you don't care about it, usually you have zero motivation to even try, but Saturn understands if you really want something, like you really want it, and it seems so unreachable and far away, well, you still have to start somewhere. You have to figure out the process, try it, actually get out there and try again, but never quit, never change your mind, not like, oh, I don't think this is for me because it was hard. No, Saturn energy understands that you have to push through hardship. You have to be restricted and squeezed. So Saturn, just like the figure that only owns 2 outfits in their closet, they know that even though they want all these things, they want nice things, they want luxury, like a luxury lifestyle, they want a lot of money, they want status, that you just don't get there if you started from absolutely nothing. They didn't get an inheritance of like, oh, all the work is done, and so you just get to enjoy. That's not Saturn. So Saturn understands that if I want something in the long run that's going to last and be secured or make me feel successful, then I'm going to spend, a period of time or maybe a long time being very restrictive. Like, even though I want something and I have the money to go get it, that doesn't mean I go get it. That's Saturn. It's like, no, I have to restrict right now. I need to save 90% of my income in order to start this business that I'm so devoted to. It is the, Jeff Bezos in an office starting from nothing. It is all these big CEOs that started from nothing and now they're huge empires, but nobody really wants to really look and feel the burden and pain and hardship of the process. but that is Saturn energy. And Saturn takes about 30 years to go through all of the 12 zodiac signs. So that's how slow it is. So everyone experiences their first Saturn return in the age bubble of 30. You might enter your Saturn return lesson around the age 27, 28, and you might think, this is great, this is what I want, or whatever. And then a little bit after the age of 30, 31, 32, 33, it plays out differently based on what lessons are you supposed to be learning, or what did you avoid, or you just didn't quite get it without this real life experience. And so after that, you might have a different shift in perspective. You become more of a real adult, not this paper legal adult, like you're 18, therefore you're an adult in the eyes of the government. As a more mature human being, you've kind of crossed that little mountain of maturity in some way, like another level. Not saying that if you're younger than 30, that you're not mature. That's not what I'm saying. But, you go through this Saturn return approximately every 30 years. Usually Saturn's energy gets a little bit lighter after the age of 40, like around 40 and after, and so it just takes a really long time. It is something you have to work on. If you know what zodiac sign your Saturn is in and what house it is in, you can kind of understand what struggles you're trying to learn. And usually it's very hard. It's not easy for you, or doesn't come easy for you. You always have to work really hard in this department in life, no matter how hard you try, and it'll just keep testing you. Saturn is like the strictest teacher in school, and nobody wants this teacher. But the teacher is that way because that person actually wants you to do really well. Like if you had the strictest teacher in high school and you survived that teacher, and they put all these red marks, all these lines, and you thought you did so well, and you get it back and you're like, I got a freaking D or an F, and there's all these lines, and like, how can I do extra credit or whatever? And you turn it in and you get it back and you get even more red lines. You're like, and then you see Jilly Bo Bob and Sally Mae Sue in the other class with one of the most fun, easy teachers, and they're getting A's and they hardly have to do anything, and you're like, ugh, it's not fair. Like, this teacher is going to ruin my GPA, and I'm not going to be able to get into the college that I want because I just happen to get a really hard teacher. But if you really survived that really strict Saturn teacher who did not take it easy on you because they wanted you to survive, they wanted to teach you the things the right way so well right now while you're under their wing, under their guardianship. So this way, when you're off in the real world where life is actually hard, it's not that bad because you actually went through brutal training under the shelter or mentorship of a teacher, if they actually approached it like a mentor, because I know not all teachers have the time to do stuff like that or care, So, that is Saturn. It is brutal. It's hard. It's nitpicky. It's a pain in the butt. And it keeps kind of like setting you back over and over and over, delays. It makes you end up doing more work. You have to try and fix the work that you already thought you did, and you don't even know what you're doing wrong because you thought you were doing pretty well, and they have to find something else for them to nitpick at you, And so once you go to college or whatever, you survived. It's a piece of cake. College is a piece of cake because you did the brutal training. You're already prepared, while the other Sally Mae Sue, whoever, Billy Joe Bob, went to the easy teacher and now they're struggling. They're making D's and F's, having to repeat classes, pay for more tuition. They're not able to have fun in college and go to parties and stuff because they're so busy now trying to figure it out because they got the easy way in high school. So that's another way to kind of try and comprehend this Saturn archetype, because Saturn is freaking slow. It is no fun. It always has setbacks. It makes you feel really squeezed wherever it is. Like if you have Saturn in the 5th house, the house of fun, house of play, dating, self-expression, it's the Leo house. It's going to be like, I'm not allowed to have fun, you know, and it's all these different outliers that it's not even your fault. It's just, it's happening to you. And it's, or maybe you chose something, you know, you chose to get married and you chose to have a kid. And now you have to be more responsible. There's less time to just go off and have fun and do whatever you want. You have responsibility because Saturn is responsibility, duty, burdens, restrictions, like, oh, we need to go to the doctor's appointment, or, you know, we have to say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't go to this party because my kid is sick and I don't want to get y'all sick, and blah, blah, blah. You know, it is that responsibility, that squeeze, restriction in that house or that zodiac sign, or a mixture of both. So I hope I tapped into everything I wanted to say about Saturn energy. I'm a Capricorn sun, so I understand this sad story of Saturn. It is no bueno, and but it's actually very rewarding because you actually grow, evolve, learn. That builds self-esteem, that builds resilience. You feel proud of yourself that once upon a time, like, I never talked. I'm not curious. I'm an observer. And it took me a long time to practice speaking and feeling comfortable, not having social anxiety, and learning how to ask questions. It sounds really stupid, but that's what happened for me. I have Saturn in the 3rd house of Sagittarius, and I happen to have my Chiron in the opposite, Gemini, in the 9th house. So we'll also check out your Chiron sign in the zodiac sign and the house that one is in, because they kind of might relate to each other. Because your Chiron wound, you tend to want it, or you want to be better at it. And sometimes your Saturn is going to be somewhere to where it might force you to help actually take the time over the years or whatever to kind of slowly build up and work on that Chiron wound placement over time. If you choose to work on it, because you can always choose to run away and escape and not face the reality of the situation, whatever that is for you. So that concludes my intro for Saturn. And in the next segment, hopefully I have time to just timestamp where the real zodiac sign starts. So yeah, check that out. So yeah, and please like and subscribe. Comment down below. What is your experience with Saturn? Most likely it's going to be sucky, sad stories. So just don't forget that you are on a public platform if you're sharing or oversharing. So yeah, okay. Is Saturn in Capricorn or 10th house, or both. So check out both your zodiac sign and your house placement for your natal Saturn placement for more info. And I have a playlist down below with a variety of things that are all organized for you to check out your house interpretation if you're not already watching this for your house interpretation. So Saturn being in natal Capricorn basically is trying to teach you to be very, very patient. The slow build of anything, it takes a long, long time. And you have to do it with, it's also trying to teach you how to do that with integrity, discipline, perseverance, and like willpower. Have that inner authority and inner ambition to create and build whatever it is that you are wanting to build. Instead of over analyzing or over whatever the term is, associating too much of your self-worth with actual material items, or associating yourself with titles, positions of power, positions of great authority, like a CEO or a manager, that, or if you're not productive enough, then your worth is not good enough, so trying to heal you from seeking out power, ambition, money, luxurious goods or brand name things, that, and productivity, being number one in the company or whatever it is like that, associating those things with your inner value, and that those are extrinsic things. So Saturn is trying to teach you the intrinsic way of creating, building, being extremely patient in order to get to or create whatever you want. So like if you want to play make believe, pretend that you have a history lineage of, like the father line, and they always sought out power, like power, control, money, status, titles, and how to do that. And sometimes, like when people are not very patient, or they don't have the resources to get to that place, or they're really insecure or frustrated or stressed out that they need to finance, some kind of way to, not only for themselves or, but their family to survive, and so how do you do that? How do you create, a system to where, you can rise up and be powerful, so you can now, dress in jewels and nice clothes and have a carriage with horses and, all this food, and not be like a pauper, so, maybe you had misused your power in the past, or you try to take shortcuts, in order to climb up to the top, instead of trying to refine and slowly build a skill, focus on a craft that takes almost like a lifetime to do, to master that. You try to take some shortcuts. This is still make-believe. Don't forget about that. Just to try and help create a picture of what Saturn and Capricorn might look like, or why you're being slowed down so much in this department, but you're also really good at it, or you seek it out so much at the same time. You want it. So in past lifetimes, just for pretending, maybe, like you knew in order to survive, or you kind of oogled at the dukes and duchesses that kind of, they seem to have it easy, like they could do whatever. They were talented in their craft or their business dealings, and know how to build relationships and negotiate, and they had gold and all this nice stuff, and like you wanted some of that, and so maybe you had no money, and so you had to, create, you know, maybe you started building, you know, so you did some work, you know, you worked hard, you made your own dress or suit, you know, and it looked pretty good, you know, in order to fit in, you know, put on this mask to fit into the crowd. But you were just, you know, a normal villager, maybe son or daughter of a bread maker or, you know, metal worker or something like that. And you try to use your charm and, you know, all this stuff in order to find a mate, you know, who is of a higher status and power. So you can, you know, to get in, you know, or they could kind of fund your survival so you could do your own thing, you know, because if you didn't have anything, you'd be farming the land, working very, very hard and working on your little craft that doesn't cost that much, but, you know, you'd be struggling a lot, you know, and so you kind of jumped up, and maybe you didn't really genuinely love your mate or partner that you ended up marrying, you know, you just kind of used them to get up, you know, to have status and power and connections. And then, you know, another thing, you know, like you kind of misused your power in order to, you know, get up there instead of doing the work on yourself, you know, instead of doing the intrinsic work on yourself. So that's just kind of like a little, you know, made up little story of, you know, why is it so hard for Saturn in Capricorn to build and create, you know, whatever they want or have ambition or, you know, all of these things. You're going to have constant obstacles put on you or criticisms from family when you're a child of like, you can't do that. Like, no, you don't have it in you or whatever. You're not like your brothers and sisters who are naturally blessed and they're gifted, talented, and they work hard. You're not that talented and you're lazy, you know, like you like to talk and fool around and you have no focus, you know, and, you know, that probably intrinsically kind of pisses you off and you still want to prove yourself to your parents that, you know, you can make it, you know, or, you know, you can get someone of high value or you can rise up to the top, you know. And so, you know, Saturn is going to put a lot of put downs and delays of trying to suppress your willpower and your ambition. And it's trying to teach you responsibility and integrity. You know, Saturn loves integrity, morals, and ethics. You know, that's why it's so freaking slow, because it wants you to do it the right way, not the fast shortcut way that's kind of like an Aries. It wants you to push through the obstacles and the delays and the surprises that come and the ups and downs, and you're still going to stick with it. You're not going to quit. You know, Capricorn, Saturn in Capricorn, or just Saturn energy doesn't want you to quit. Or like if you're going through a rough patch in your marriage or whatever, or say, oh, I fell out of love and so you want to get a divorce. No, Saturn is like, you made a commitment, you know, otherwise don't do that. You know, don't even sign the papers. Don't say that to someone. Just stay single, you know, like act with integrity and honesty. If you're actually going to do something and say, yes, you're going to commit, you're going to, you know, commit to death, you know, because that's what you signed up for. You made the choice to do that. And so if you made the wrong choice, well, then you both can figure it out together as a team, you know, like not just quit it. You know, that is a Saturn energy. Is trying to heal like your wounds of trying to be more and more and more, get more power, get more status, get more attention, get more recognition for what you're doing and all this stuff, and say like, hey, like, you know, how come I'm not getting as much attention and praise as, you know, yin and yang over there who are so popular and they're so good at business and they're like the dream team and I want to be like them, but I know even more stuff than they do, or I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations too, just as equal to, if not more, than these two knuckleheads over there who's getting so much popularity and praise. And that's going to kind of put, a damper on your ego. And so Saturn is trying to teach you that, you're not here for that. You can work really hard and you're really good at what you do. You can end up being a very wise teacher, mentor, in building structures and systems because you went through it, and you can pinpoint all the little things, all the little things that kind of people don't notice, or how do you kind of build relationships in order to create a team who are going to work in favor for you, the leader. Sometimes, I don't know about sometimes, but like it takes a lot of skill and talent. Ooh, what is going on? Talent in order to kind of bring people together and work together, and not like have a toxic environment. So Saturn, teaches you these things, and you're able to kind of put it all together. Like if you grew up in a family where it was very dysfunctional, but you were really good at kind of noticing people, like what's going on, and talking to them and figuring things out and communicating and kind of problem solving to build. So this way you don't lose someone important on your team, like an asset on your team. How do you keep them so they can keep building for you? But you have to learn how to do it with integrity, not control or manipulation. It's trying to teach you things like that. Saturn just slows everything down for you when it comes to work and career and building your public image, public persona. So the Capricorn house is the top of the chart, the 10th house. So this can also be, if you don't work, just like, how do you come off to the public, or how do the people of the world see you, even though they don't personally know you one-on-one? Knowing you one-on-one is that first house. Sometimes it's the 7th house as well. People can see that energy from you, but when they interact with you one-on-one, you're actually in your first house. People zoomed out from you if they were looking at you from like a screen or something like this, the internet, or just a picture that's still a shot, and you don't actually look like that all the time. People perceive you in this Capricorn energy. So know your ascendant sign and where Saturn is placed in your chart. So kind of also adds to that, but Saturn is kind of making you work very, 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 very hard for your public image. And who are you? Like, what are you known for? Are you a responsible person who's really good at their job? So you're just going to have a lot of pushback and delays. And it's very, very hard for you to climb to the top because you're just somehow going to get that pushback, because Saturn doesn't want you to rush up there or say like, hey, I've, done so-and-so for 1 year and I grew this whole thing or whatever. And, I want a promotion or I want a pay raise. The people at the top will be like, well, we've been working really hard for our positions for like 20 years before we were able to get promoted and get a pay raise. And you want to get a pay raise and a promotion after 1 year, like that, your perspective of a long time is very distorted, so look at perspective in that regard too. I've come across people who try a new job and they're like, well, I'll give it like a year, and see like a contract job, and to see if they can survive or make it, because it's just 100% commission. And then 1 year comes up and then they end up quitting, and it's like sometimes 1 year is actually not at all long enough, like to build like a reputation, a clientele, people to see you as knowledgeable in whatever area that you are trying to create a reputation or career for or from. It takes longer than that sometimes. It's not everyone is lucky and blessed to be able to do that within 1 year. And if you did do it within 1 year, did you really genuinely give it all that you got? Did you really go out there? Did you work like 15 hours a day? Did you research outside of your work time in order to learn and grow for whatever you're trying to be successful at? And most of the time, people don't end up doing that. They don't do that diligent work over a long, long period of time. You have to almost eat, breathe, and sleep possessively and obsessively what you're wanting to build in order for it to come. It's not like I'm manifesting and I'm praying for my dreams to come to me, amen, and expecting that it's just going to fall into place. No, you have to actually work. So Saturn is just trying to teach you that. Saturn is at home in Capricorn, so it's almost like extra punishment for y'all, because it's already in the sign of woe is me. So like I understand this energy because I have 3 planets in there. And, it's always just trying to give you some humble pie and kind of give you weird little obstacles, or just like slow, just really, really, really slow to get it. But then once you really work on it and focus on it, like, it's slow and then it kind of ramps up, just like foundations of anything. Oof. Like if you don't learn your foundations well enough, which sometimes takes a really, really long time, being able to build upon that foundation, if it's not strong and you just really know it well, it's just going to be off, or it's not going to accelerate in a positive way, or you're going to have a lot of issues, mistakes, things that get in the way that were unnecessary, because you could have avoided that a long, long, long time ago. So Saturn is trying to really teach you these foundational things that will help you be able to build and sustain something long term that maybe is your own later on, but it comes really late. Our first Saturn return comes around the age bubble of 30, the second one age bubble of 60, then 90, but even they say, after your first Saturn return at around age 30, it's almost like that's the age bubble where after that, then you become more of a adult. It's like things click in a different way, but Saturn is it lessens a little bit after the age of 40, but that doesn't mean it completely goes away. You still, have lessons here, especially if you ignore all of your Saturn transit lessons that is always happening throughout everyone's chart, so it like compounds, that's a Capricorn thing. It's like a 401k or whatever, you slowly are putting in work, or you're slowly pushing aside income or whatever, because, you're thinking of the long term, which is like maybe close to when you're about to die, but you consistently put aside that energetic work effort, you know. So it's the same concept, even though it takes forever, you know, you still do the work, you still try and show up every day, even though you don't see the results that you wanted right away or as soon as you wanted. Then, oh, I forgot I had a brain fart. You know, it's just going to teach you to slow down and have a lot of patience and not take any shortcuts and get like a temper tantrum and say like, oh, I'm not happy, or I'm not getting what I want, or I'm not getting like the numbers that I want, or, you know, the popularity and praise and power that I like crave deep down inside. Is trying to heal those things for you, because you know, the real power comes from like feeling fulfilled in whatever you chose to put your work ethic into. You'll feel natural joy. You'll feel kind of just like passionate, interested, and hungry for something to build upon. That's, you know, while, you know, balancing your responsibilities in real life. Capricorn or Saturn energy is very, very responsible. And, you know, you can be very reserved and stoic and very serious about your stability in finances and trying to build that and maybe not lose it. You could even be kind of controlling in not losing that, because that's like anxiety that's ready to explode if any earth sign energy doesn't feel financially stable. They are not happy campers. They have a lot of anxiety. So it might be trying to help control any kind of power and controlling tendencies that you might take on when you're feeling anxious or out of control, in order to regain control of a situation or an empire that you built, you know. So trying to not using controlling tactics or kind of shortcuts in order to achieve something that you want. You have to do it the right way. Otherwise, Saturn is going to punish you in your next Saturn return, depending on how old you are. So I think that is it for now. Or yeah, so it's just trying to heal basically your wounds of needing more money, needing external like material things and material items in order to identify your worth as worthy, or having titles in order to be looked upon as good enough, you know, because it's trying to heal the boo-boos of feeling not good enough, or overly criticized, or, you know, the bar was set so high that it was unrealistic for you in some way. Even if it wasn't literally told to you, the energy might be there, like you're just somehow just not good enough or seen to be of use, like worthy enough to invest in, because they just didn't see you as a good investment. So, you know, that's like a wound you have to heal, you know. And so you might seek validation, power, and trying to, you know, balance out feeling not worthy, not talented enough, or not, you know, building and creating things as good as everyone else, you know. Is trying to heal those things for you. You know, that's why you keep working at it, you know, because you're trying to heal that part of yourself. And so you have to find that intrinsic, you know, authority or intrinsic, you know, value without associating, you know, those things that I just said. For your self-worth and self-esteem. Also check out your Chiron placement, because sometimes that is related as well. or in connection to why you work so hard in this Saturn department of trying to build or learn lessons in this lifetime of the Saturn placement, and remember that, whatever story you want to create as a past lifetime make-believe story as to why you're having to pay the karma in this lifetime, because you may have misused it or kind of took too much. You took too much power, control, money, and you didn't really give it back, or you learned how to build really good systems and structures, and you didn't want to pass that knowledge down because you didn't want other people to be powerful or good enough. You wanted to keep that to yourself, so it validates that you're in control, kind of like controlling, or like not helping humanity because you wanted the power and control out to yourself, almost like toxic masculinity kind of thing, regardless if you're a male or female. So kind of marinate on those ideas. There's no way that I can come up with every possible scenario. So please like and subscribe if this was informative for you. And check out my other videos, playlists. Check out my website, www.natashascreativewellness.com. If you want a natal chart reading, or you like material things on there based on my past artwork, and there's products, yoga mats, things like that in there, journals. And check out my upcoming book. It'll be on Amazon, coming out June 30th, 2025. Trigger to Change, by me. There's another book called that, and it happened to be put out there a little bit before me, and it didn't exist when I was writing my book. So you can check that out too for more storytelling and wisdom in a different way. Okay, bye.